the next Dune movie better have the Fremen doing some despicable stuff, and how the Holy War made them hate Paul for the things that they do. Already we've seen some pretty significant changes to the Fremen, and I only worry about how those changes are just going to, like a ripple effect, will expand on to the next installment, because I don't know how you're going to course correct or backtrack on what you've done already. So already we've seen a splinter between the Fremen. We have the North and Southern Fremen, the Southern Fremen being a fundamentalist, more religious extremists in that regard, as opposed to other Fremen who were of Zendaya's Chani generation that didn't see the prophecies the same, didn't view them the same. So already that's a pretty significant deviation, because the Fremen should all be united in their views and their religion and their views of the prophecies, and even at the end too. So the end has a lot of changes as well in regards to the Fremen and the jihad. I mean, already the instigation for the war was different, because it was the great houses that refused to recognize Paul's imperial ascendancy, when really they didn't have a choice in the books. They didn't have a choice because the Spacing Guild told them, you don't have a choice, and whatever the Spacing Guild says goes. But the reason for the jihad was because they were spreading the word of Muad'Dib to the galaxy, not because Paul told them to, because the great houses didn't recognize his authority. So already their motivations are different. I'm not sure how that's going to affect the next installment. Obviously, there's a lot of changes that will impact the next installment, which is kind of sad that this is the state that whatever it is, it's going to be different. I hope for some course correction in regards to the more significant core elements of Dune Messiah, but I don't know, there's just so many things that I worry just can't be course corrected and in a convincing and ultimately faithful manner to the source material. So yeah, that's another thing too in regards to the Fremen. Since their motivations are changed for even entering the jihad, you have to wonder, like, what's gonna be different moving forward. I do think there's some things that they will keep that can be kept faithful, because I don't think you can change like how the Fremen come to regard Paul and the loss of their culture, basically, and a lot of their fundamentalist views kind of being thrown out the window, like ultimately under the Atreides dynasty. So there's a lot of resentment there, and the resentment is crucial to the outworking of the story. Yeah, there's actually just a lot. And actually, Dune Messiah is probably the most adaptable book, I would say. But because they've made so many changes, now my worry is, how can y'all course correct convincingly while also adapting the story in a faithful manner? I still think any changes are already deliberate parts of ideas on how they intend to focus on specific themes. In other words, it might seem confusing looking at the puzzle pieces we have so far, but I think it'll seem pretty obvious in hindsight once we see Messiah. It's very hard to see what Villeneuve's future interpretation would be of Dune Messiah in light of the changes that we've already know about. There are elements that I think will be done well. Again, I think the Bene Gesserit part will probably be done very well again, as far as their part in the conspiracy. And while there were things that I didn't like in regards to Rebecca Ferguson's Lady Jessica in Dune Part 2, like the portrayal of Margot Fenring, I thought was really good in regards to like the Bene Gesserit institution. So I think that there are elements there that will be present in Dune Messiah, and I think since he's already proved adept at that specific part, I think that'll be good. And also for the character of Hate, I think will be done well, considering what we've already seen of the character. I think y'all probably already know. I don't know. It's a very old book. Thought Denis said he didn't want to get too far into the esoteric lore also, and wanted to keep it light enough for a broader audience to understand, which is very disappointing. I can understand to a point in wanting it to make it more palatable for general audiences, but ultimately your fan base is what's gonna be devoted to you, to be devoted to this franchise. And general audiences are just gonna move on to the next thing. Yeah, it was a good movie, and okay, moving on. I mean, they're not the ones that are going to be diving into the books or games, or I don't know if they liked it enough. Maybe they'll check out Dune Prophecy. And this is what David Lynch's Dune did also. Like, it had a lot of changes as well, very significant ones, but it introduced so many to the books. And I think that was the case for this film as well. But also, I just hope that there would be more of the universe and the world building. I thought it was done very well in Dune Part 1, but in Dune Part 2, he just stopped. He didn't want to do any more world building. He thought it would weigh it down maybe, or He just wanted to focus on Paul. But I feel like the audience could have understood it if he was doing it well enough. How they could get rid of the fundamentals, have them purge, have it start off with South Fremen going to war with their own people to remove the heretics, to convert or removed. That actually could be what they might do. The ones that start or are involved in the conspiracy against Paul Atreides might be those Southern fundamentalists, that core, and maybe, have them, when they see the systematic departure of their culture and their ways. I can see that with the uprising, in particular when it comes to the conspiracy against Paul Atreides. Because here's the thing too, I do wonder if they're gonna show more of the actual jihad. I mean, because they're gonna want to have more action, I assume, and that's what everyone is assuming really. When they look at Dune Messiah, it's not an action-heavy story. Maybe towards the end, and a huge set piece there, just mostly like close quarters action. I would say it's more comparable to Dune Part 1 in terms of its action. It's a lot of political intrigue, there's a lot of talking and exposition in rooms, and it's already been speculated on by like mainstream media that they're gonna have to make significant changes if they want to compare to Dune Part 2. A Legendary CEO has already come out and said that if Villeneuve can guarantee an experience like we just had in Dune Part 2, then it's a no-brainer, we're gonna go ahead with it. But the source material itself isn't Dune. It's a very different story from that first book. So I wonder if they're gonna import more from the jihad in there, and maybe have some sort of I don't know about flashbacks. Maybe flashbacks to kind of reintroduce everyone to the universe and the state of things, because I'm sure there's going to be that significant amount of time, at least, still has to be in there. But so they're going to have some exposition to explain it, but maybe they'll just show a lot of shots, action shots from that. I doubt we're going to have any time skips, but flashbacks maybe. It's interesting to think about and speculate about, and hopefully we'll get more concrete news about it. If y'all can just figure out if you're actually going to release it around this time, and then maybe we can hear more substantial news about it. Love Dune going to be a challenge to represent such deep concepts on film, fingers crossed. Will say my expectations are a little low after the Dune Part 2 when it comes to the lore itself. After the second movie, I think you're in. You've invested too much time to turn back now. He should just go all in on the lore because it's incredible and delicious. The audience is ready. I agree. Yeah. If the next film is greenlit, embrace it. Embrace this universe. This, with all of its strangeness and deep concepts, deep philosophical concepts. If you have it, if it's greenlit, they're giving you the money, then do it. You've got your action set piece. You've got your sci-fi epic war film in Dune Part 2. Now we need to take some time and delve into the philosophy and the other institutions that make up this incredible and strange universe, like the Spacing Guild and the Mentats, and this time the Betty Slaylax. It's going to be even more crazy. And that's another concern too. If they omitted the Spacing Guild, are we even going to see the Slaylax? The Tlaylaxu, the face dancers, Bijaz, he's an odd character. You need to embrace the strange.